the extinction of many species by accidentally introducing rats to new areas. Rats are found in nearly all areas of Earth which are inhabited by human beings. The only rat-free continent is Antarctica, which is too cold for a rat survival outdoors, and its lack of human habitation does not provide buildings to shelter them from the weather. However, rats have been introduced to many of the islands near Antarctica, and because of their destructive effect on native flora and fauna, efforts to eradicate them are ongoing. In particular, Bird Island, just off rat-infested South Georgia Island, where breeding seabirds could be badly affected if rats were introduced, is subject to special measures and regularly monitored for rat invasions. As part of island restoration, some islands' rats populations have been eradicated to protect or restore the economy. Halifax Island, Alaska was declared rat-free after 229 years, and Campbell Island, New Zealand after almost 200 years. Breaksea Island in New Zealand was declared rat-free in 1988 after an eradication campaign based on a successful trial on the smaller Hawaii Island nearby. In January 2015, an international rat team set sail from the Falkland Islands to the British Overseas Territory of South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands, on board a ship carrying 3 helicopters and 100 tons of rat poison with the objective of reclaiming the island for its seabirds. Rats have wiped out more than 90% of the seabirds on South Georgia, and the sponsors hope that once the rats are gone, it will regain its former status as home to the greatest concentration of seabirds in the world. The South Georgia Heritage Trust, which organized the mission, describes it as 5 times larger than any other rodent eradication attempted worldwide. That would be true if it were not for the rat control program in Alberta. The Canadian province of Alberta is notable for being the largest inhabited area on Earth which is free of true rats due to the very aggressive government rat control policies. It has large numbers of native pack rats, also called bushy-tailed wood rats, but they are forest-dwelling vegetarians which are much less destructive than true rats. Ancient Romans did not generally differentiate between rats and mice, instead referring to the former as mus maximus, big mouse, and the latter as mus minimus, little mouse. On the Isle of Man, there is a taboo against the word rat. The rat, sometimes referred to as a mouse, is the first of 12 animals on the Chinese zodiac. People born in this year are expected to possess qualities associated with rats, including creativity, intelligence, honesty, generosity, ambition, and a quick temper and wastefulness. People born in the year of the rat are said to get along well with monkeys and dragons, and to get along poorly with horses. In Indian tradition, rats are seen as the vehicle of Ganesha, and a rat statue is always found in the temple of Ganesh. In the northwestern Indian city of Deshnoke, the rats of the Kami Matra temple are held to be destined for reincarnation as sadhus. The attending priests feed milk and grain to the rats, of which the pilgrims also partake. Europeans' associations with the rat are generally negative. For instance, rats is used as a substantive for various vulgar interjections in the English language. These associations are not drawn per se from any biological or behavioral trait of the rat, but possibly. European associations with the rat are generally negative. For instance, rats is used as a substitute for various vulgar interjections in the English language. These associations do not draw per se from any biological or behavioral trait of the rat, but possibly from the association of rats with the 14th century medieval plague called the Black Death. Rats are often seen as vicious, clean, and parasitic animals that steal food and spread disease. However, some people in European cultures keep rats as pets and conversely find them to be tame, clean, intelligent, and playful. Rats are often used in scientific experiments. Animal rights activists allege that the treatment of rats in this context is cruel. The term lab rat is used typically in a self-effacing manner to describe a person whose job function requires them to spend a majority of their work time engaged in bench-level research. Rats are frequently blamed for damaging food supplies and other goods or spreading disease. Their reputation is carried into common parlance. In the English language, rat is often an insult or is generally used to signify an unscrupulous character. It is also used as the term narc to mean an individual who works as a police informant or who has turned state's evidence. Writer-director Preston Sturges creates the humorous alias Rattywatsky for a soldier who seduced, impregnated, and abandoned the heroine of his 1944 film, The Miracle of Morgan's Creek. It is a term in criminal slang for an informant. To rat on someone is to betray them by informing the authorities of a crime or misdeed they committed. Describing a person as rat-like usually implies he or she is unattractive and suspicious. Among trade unions, the word rat is also a term for non-union employers or breakers for union contracts, and this is why unions use inflatable rats. Depiction of rats in fiction are historically inaccurate and negative. The most common falsehood is the squeaking, almost always heard in otherwise realistic portrayals. While the recordings may be of actual squeaking rats, the noise is uncommon. They may do so only if distressed, hurt, or annoyed. Normal vocalizations are very high-pitched, well outside the range of human hearing. Rats are often cast in vicious and aggressive roles when in fact their shyness helps keep them undiscovered for so long in an infested home. The actual portrayals of rats vary from negative to positive, with the majority in the negative and ambiguous. The rat plays a villain in several mouse societies, from Brian Jacques' Redwall and Robin Jarvis's The Deptford Mice, for the roles of Disney's Professor Ratigan and Kate DiCamelo's Roscuro and Botticelli. They have also been used as a mechanism in horror, being the titular evil in stories like The Rats, or H.P. Lovecraft's The Rats in the Walls, and in films like Willard and Ben. Another terrifying use of rats is a method of torture, for instance in Room 101 in George Wells' 1984, or The Pit and the Pendulum by Edgar Allan Poe. Selfish helpfulness. Those willing to help for a price has also been attributed to fictional rats. Templeton from E.B. White's Charlotte's Web repeatedly reminds the other characters that he is only involved because it means more food for him, and the cellar rat of John Masefield's The Midnight Folk requires bribery to be of any assistance. By contrast, the rats appearing in Dr. Dolittle books tend to be highly positive and likable characters, many of whom tell the remarkable life stories in the Mouse and Rat Club established by the animal-loving doctor. Some fictional works use rats as the main characters. Notable examples include the society created by O'Brien's Ms. Frisby and the Rats of Nim, and others include Dr. Rat and Rizzo the Rat from The Muppets. Pixar's 2007 animated film Ratatouille is about a rat described by Robert Egbert as earnest, lovable, determined, and gifted, who lives with a Parisian garbage boy turned chef. Mon Oncle d'Amérique is a 1980 French film, illustrates Henry Lameret's theories on evolutionary psychology and human behaviors by using short sequences in the storyline showing lab rat experiments. In Harry Turtledove's science fiction novel Homeward Bound, humans unintentionally introduced rats to the ecology at the world of an alien race which had previously invaded Earth, and introduced some of its own fauna into its environment. And A. Bertram Chandler pitted his spacebound protagonist Commodore Grimes against giant intelligent rats who took over stellar systems and enslaved their human inhabitants. The stainless steel rat is the nickname of the human protagonist of a series of humorous science fiction novels written by Harry Harrison. One of the oldest and most historic stories about rats is The Pied Piper of Hamelin, in which a rat catcher leads away an infestation with enchanted music. The piper is later refused payment, so he in turn leads away the town's children. This tale, traced to Germany around the 13th century, has inspired adaptations in film, theater, literature, and even opera. The subject of much research, some theories have intertwined the tale with events related to the Black Plague, in which black rats played an important role. Fictional works based on the tale focus heavily on the rat aspect, include Pratchett's The Amazing Maurice and His Educated Rodents, and Belgian graphic novel Le Bal de la Rat Morte.